Victoria Solomon, the founder of the eShell system, believes that every body tells a story. She understands the profound impact that our body state has on our overall well-being, whether we experience pain or pure health and ease, how we walk, stand, and sit, or create either ease or pain in our bodies. Through her expertise in biomechanics and the eShell system, Victoria helps individuals gain a deeper understanding of their bodies. She empowers them to make positive changes in their movement patterns and posture, ultimately leading to improved physical and mental well-being. As an expert in her field, Victoria's work goes beyond just addressing physical symptoms. She recognizes the interconnectedness of the body, mind, and emotions, and takes a holistic approach to helping her service users achieve optimal health and ease their bodies. With Victoria's guidance, you can embark on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. By understanding and honoring your body's unique story, you can create a foundation of health and vitality that supports you in every way. So if you're ready to unlock the secrets that your body holds and experience the power of movement as a catalyst for healing, Victoria Solomon and the eShell system are here to guide you in every step of the way. So, welcome back to My Trauma's Chronic, and I'm Iconic. And without further ado, let's welcome Victoria Jacqueline Solomon. So, what inspired you to start the eggshell?
Eggshell.
Eggshell.
Yeah, Eggshell is a medicine woman, Mexican goddess medicine woman. So it's actually pronounced Ixchel in Mexico. But yeah, so she was the medicine woman in her community.
What inspired you to start the eShell system?
So the Ixchel system was the product of many, many years of my working with clients and an understanding that most disease, be it mental, physical, or personality problems, came from people's complete lack of knowledge of the very body and container that they live in. And the result of that was helplessness, hopelessness, chronic physical pain, chronic emotional pain, and also very often, to a point, a total delusion. I say that in the most caring, loving way, but of how someone's life that they're living on a day-to-day basis is affecting them. So what I also could see, because I had many different qualifications, was that there were different systems of the body where people needed to have an understanding. And people would just go from one therapist to another practitioner to another. So they try this and they try that and they try the other. And so they were still treating each system in separation rather than the body as all the systems connected. And with the Eggshell system, we bring all of it. There is no separation of systems or of physical and emotional. There is no separation. There is a priority sometimes of where we need to start, and that is taken into account. But that is why we created the Eggshell system. It is a system for all the systems to be cared for and stabilized, to regenerate health, self-generate. Just to say, the other thing about it is educational. So you become your own practitioner, your own assessor. We teach you to realign by assessing your own body and realigning it.
Amazing. Can you share some success stories of service users who have experienced positive changes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are endless. We can start with my main teaching assistant who had chronic pain since she was 11 years old in her back. By the time she came to me, I think she was 34. She had tried every therapy, be it physical or medical, painkillers, whatever. And she was told she would just be on painkillers for the rest of her life. Yeah, I mean, this is a regular story. And she came to me, we taught her about her internal structure, and within 7 weeks, she could completely resolve or at least manage, if it ever comes back, her pain. Yeah, which now we don't say pain should never come back. We say when pain appears, it's a message of the body telling you what you need to do. And then with the ICBIAI system, you know what to do and you resolve the pain. So that's a major success story. People who've had fibromyalgia for many, many years, they just thrive. You know, one lady, 15 years, chronic pain, couldn't play with her kids, couldn't walk the dog, couldn't do anything. There is an aspect of the ICBIAI system where we're looking at ancestral patterns, DNA patterns, things that may be pre-verbal or inherited that are in the biomechanics. We put all that together for her, and the fibromyalgia disappears. I mean, it's endless. I could also talk about practitioners who come in. So yoga practitioners who've taught yoga for 25 years and then come in and realize there is so much about the mechanics of the body they have no idea about. So for all of their clients, yeah, they get to teach their clients now very differently. People who've had back surgery will come in, and one of the things that, you know, it's really tough because they'll be like, why did my doctor never show me this? Why did my consultant never share this with me? Yeah, because it's about, we're re-educating people about how they distribute center of mass in their body and how they align their bones. So those are always success stories. People who ADHD, who may feel incredibly unstable, two of our people, they all want to then come in and help teach or support the organization because there's chronic instability, and then suddenly they feel safe in their body. They feel safe. Yeah. So, you know, I'm thinking of a couple of people right now when I'm talking about that. People with PTSD, one lady, very, very disturbing background, chronic PTSD, and, you know, spent years in therapy, years and years trying to work out, you know, the story and resolve the story. And then we bring them into the power of their bones, engagement, connection, support internally, and suddenly they feel safe or more regulated again. You know, obviously I have to be careful with people's confidentiality in terms of names, so I don't necessarily speak about them individually. We have people who've had years of chronic back pain, and, you know, it's not always the same because a lot is about what is the presentation, what is the cause of the presentation. But purely by helping people realign their center of mass and the relationship it has with 26 bones in their feet, suddenly they can switch off the foot pain. Digestive issues, one lady, two I can think of right now in my head, they'd had chronic IBS for years. One of them had got to a point, I think she could only eat about 5 foods. Her name is Sharon. She came to me, she'd broken her neck, like I think 10, 20 years ago. She'd spent 10 years in bed. She'd ended up with big addictions because of the medication she was on to try and treat the pain of an injury. And again, so she ended up, because the medication destroys the lining of the gut, which then impacts the way you absorb and digest food as well, but you're trying to deal with the pain. So with her, eventually she came to me and we stabilized the bones and mechanics in her feet and the relationship of the legs with the pelvis. The pelvis contains the digestive system at the base of it and the parasympathetic. And we stabilize that, and suddenly the IBS completely rights itself and she can eat what she wants. Yeah, it's constant. I mean, we have a whole community, and anyone who watches this is welcome to, or listens to this, is welcome to just come and join the community drop-in sessions, and they'll hear. But you know, I always prefer it when people hear the stories from individuals rather than me. Because, you know, I've created a community so that people can hear those stories from each other. It's sometimes I feel like I'm doing some kind of sales job, which I'm not. You know, we just obviously have a system that, because community is also important. Yeah, obviously when we can identify with other people and we hear other people's stories, because one of the biggest issues is people's if they're ill in any way, physically or mentally, there can be real issues with trust and feeling safe, because the whole system is dysregulated, so you're in a kind of state of fight or flight or life threat. So rather than having someone like myself telling you about these stories, it's far better to really hear them from individuals who've experienced them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Mm.
it's lovely that you mentioned that, all care is bespoke to the individual.
Mm.
I feel like that's a lot of practices forget that, or
Mhm.
like, don't tailor their care to the individuals that they work with. How,
Well, the only way to truly help someone heal is to meet them where they're at. You can't fit someone into a mold. You have to meet their mold and help them feel safe to rearrange that. So that's part of the ethos of how we teach. We're assessing you where you're at and working from there. It's the only way.
how does biomechanics play a role in the overall functioning of the human body?
So biomechanics is, I would say, like the internal scaffolding of the body. So if you've got an issue with a house, yeah, and you need to get to the roof, there are two aspects of this. Um, Firstly, if you need to get to the roof, you need very strong foundations to climb up to the roof carefully to protect. Yeah, it's like the roof is up there and it's got a foundation below it. And actually, if the foundation isn't there, the roof is going to crash. Yeah. So everything at the top of the house is supported by the bricks and mortar that come below it. And ask any architect, and actually, I'm discussing this with architects at the moment. If you've got a building and it's not level, yeah, you've got an issue. And what's going on above is irrelevant. You're going to come to the foundation. Okay, so biomechanics starts with the foundation of 26 bones in the foot. Let me see, I usually have a foot somewhere. So it starts with 26 bones. I don't know where my foot is right now, but we'll see. Maybe and we'll try and find it. So the biomechanics is foundation. Yeah, so we have 26 bones in both feet, and the way they move, absolutely essential. Okay. So with that, we then sort the foundation of the mechanics, yeah, in the feet, and we work upwards. And this is all the bones. We're not interested, I mean, obviously, we're interested in the health and well-being of muscles and other soft tissues in the body and other systems, but we are coming back to the bones. Okay, the mechanics. If you think of a car, you can't drive anywhere if the actual kind of metal and structure of the car isn't well in place. Okay, and then if we think of a car when it's moving, you've got the wheels. Yeah, you can have the best fuel, you can have a brilliant map and, GPS. But if your actual wheels and steering are not working correctly, the mechanics of the car, it's a real effort to get anywhere. Okay. And the body is the same. And the house analogy is more about we have to start from the foundation. Does that make sense? So we're working with this internal scaffolding, yeah, of the bones and the joints. And even in the kind of more medical orthopedic world, they tend to look at all of those parts of the body separately. So, for example, someone may go to a physio for knee pain. I've actually been told this by clients. They'll go for their knee and they might say to their physio, yeah, my hip hurts as well, but the physio's like, no, I've been told to treat your knee. Well, the knee is actually, if you think of the thigh bone, yeah, it's one bone. The head of one end of it is in the knee, and the other end of it is the hip, right? It's the same bone. So if there is something slightly out of alignment at one end of that bone, which is in the hip, it's going to impact the joint in the knee. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because it's one bone. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, yeah, that we live in a world that is only prepared to look at one end of a bone when a bone is like a seesaw. And if one end goes that way, the other end is going to go the opposite way. Yeah. So we have this craziness of even the medical world and a lot of people not understanding what's going on with orientation of all the different parts, and then the importance of how all these different parts of the body are designed to move in particular timing and rhythm with each other. Okay, so this is where biomechanics becomes absolutely integral, because all the other systems are sitting and reliant on the structure of those bones and containers. Does that make sense?
That
And
makes
now I'm forgetting what your question was. So
You've answered the
have I answered
question
it?
already.
Yeah, great.
What are some key factors that contribute to the locking up of trauma within the body's biomechanics?
Okay. So depending on whether it's physical or emotional, okay, if it's physical trauma, so let's say I'm walking along the street, I trip up, I sprain my ankle, I might still be able to put a weight on it because it's a sprain, it's not a break. Yeah. But what the rest of my body is immediately going to do through that physical pain trauma is rearrange itself. Now, I'm not going to go and think, oh, I've hurt my ankle. I need to rotate my pelvis and lift my scapula and do things like that. I'm not going to do that. Instead, it's an unconscious pattern. So it's an unconscious reaction to the body. Okay. So that immediately locks out a more functional alignment, which the body had, and rearranges to take pressure off a place of injury. Okay. And then that normalizes in the body. Now, the issue is that as the actual ankle sprain repairs itself, the body has now completely forgotten what alignment it used to have. And so the ankle might get completely better, but all those different compensations and rearrangements in the body have completely kind of become normal. And at no point does the brain suddenly go, okay, ankle's fine, let's completely go back to normal, how it was before. The brain has got used to the compensations and different alignments, and those different alignments then potentially set up other issues, imbalances, and potentially chronic pain conditions. So that's if it's a physical injury, and that injury could happen anywhere in the body, and the same response would apply. And there's this normalization, and the brain, unless we remind the body of how to move every different joint in 3D, we'll talk about that more later, I'm sure, the brain doesn't remember. So you're left with that lockup, yeah, that shift in biomechanics. Now, if it's emotional, we have a different story going on. I don't know if you've heard of the polyvagal theory. Have you heard of that? Okay, so you would know that the polyvagal theory is connecting the nervous system in the
By the
brain, the
way,
heart.
can you, for those who don't know, like our listeners, can you explain what it is?
Yes. So the polyvagal theory is basically about different aspects of the nervous system. So we have ventral vagal, which is it's when we feel safe, regulated, it's connected to the heart. And that's a place we want to be, where we're in safe and social, and our nervous system is completely happy. You're sitting in a room, you're getting really lovely responses from people's faces, and your unconscious, your autonomic nervous system, the automatic part of how you respond in terms of your nervous system, is just getting all the right signals that you're safe. Then we have your sympathetic nervous system, which is in your spinal column and very much impacts your rib cage when we're talking biomechanics. And this is fight or flight, and it will kick off adrenaline. And we go into that state if we don't feel unsafe, and we either, the nervous system immediately kind of unconsciously gets us to react Yeah, it's very reactive. However, it's also mobilization. We need the sympathetic nervous system. It's what makes us get up in the morning. It's what gives us the motivation to do anything. Yeah, so we need our sympathetic nervous system for movement, and all of it, that is the nervous system in the spinal column that enables us to mobilize. Okay, then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is in polyvagal what they call dorsal vagal, and it kind of sits just around the base of the rib cage going into the gut. So when we hear that expression, it's a gut feeling. Yeah, that's your dorsal vagal nervous system. The issue is that if you feel under attack, or if you are just in this sympathetic nervous system response of fight or flight too much, burnout, for example, that kind of thing, because you're working way too hard, eventually what can happen is that you're in a state of life threat, and the sympathetic nervous system just becomes exhausted, and it moves more into the release of cortisol, which is more of a numbing out stress chemical. So people dissociate, and these different nervous systems work together. And a healthy person will be able to kind of self-regulate and move between those nervous systems. But unfortunately, what happens is that when we are under acute stress, be it physical or emotional, those nervous systems can reach their limit, at which point, especially if you dissociate because you feel under life threat, the body kind of collapses. Yeah, you can see it in people's posture, can't you? You can see, you get that feeling about people when they walk in a room. You get that feeling, that feeling you get someone, like even now, you've got a feeling of me because of who I am, right? There is a certain sense that you have. It's not even what you're thinking, it's what you're feeling when you see this person in front of you. That is your autonomic nervous system. And that feeling could be going, oh, that person's dangerous, I don't know about them. Yeah, be careful. Or that feeling could be, oh, that person feels really lovely. It's that feeling. This is all your autonomic nervous system responding. It's sensations, and it works differently for different people, but we're all responding continuously, okay, to our external environment. So polyvagal theory was put together by a guy called Stephen Porges, and there's also a lot of work about it by Lady Deb Dana, and they talk about the polyvagal ladder, where people can move up and down between these nervous systems. And the idea is, I think, when it comes to biomechanics, that if people could easily self-regulate and move between, the state of life threat, or also the opposite to that in the gut, is it's a real place when you feel safe of creativity, yeah, and love and connection. And obviously you've got sexual centers down there, pleasure and all kinds of things when you can feel down there, yeah. But very often it becomes life threat, which would lock up the pelvis. Okay, when we're then translating that into biomechanics, what we see is it locks up the pelvis emotionally, and people's pelvises will collapse. They'll go into a forced tilt or high or rotation. Okay, and this is because they are in this life threat, which the polyvagal theory talks about. Then we come into the upper spine and the rib cage, the thoracic area, and you have this rib cage, which is sympathetic nervous system, which if we think of the emotion, yeah, of fight or flight, yeah, the rib cage might kind of really lift or rotate and kind of get a bit stuck in that rotation. Or if it's something like grief and shock, the rib cage might sink down and collapse. And then we have a big issue because it sinks down and collapses onto organs like your heart, your lungs, your liver, your digestive tract. And then that pressure creates systematic health challenges as well. So that's where biomechanics based on trauma, we can also have this kind of head forward posture, yeah, like eyes in it's kind of in the lights, kind of just that scared look, and the skull just lunges forward. So this is where biomechanics crosses in to the experience of the body's experience of accommodating kind of trauma responses. Does that make sense? Emotion. So we got the physical and emotional impact with biomechanics.
That makes absolute sense. Are there certain areas of the body where trauma tends to be more locked up in?
Yes, the pelvis and the rib cage.
How does trauma stored in the body's biomechanics impact an individual's physical and emotional well-being?
Okay, so in the pelvis, trauma stored will knock it out of alignment, either hiked on one side higher than the other, or rotated, or the rib or the pelvis kind of sinks forward. So there's anterior posterior tilt. And what happens here is then all the organs in that container are then no longer supported and aligned correctly to function correctly. So this then becomes diseases, could be bladder problems, could be sexual reproductive problems, chronic back pain. Yeah, just because the very container, okay, that's impacted by life threat, such as the pelvis, because we know that the parasympathetic is there, is completely impacted. Then the rib cage is very impacted. You've got your heart, your lungs, your digestive tract, liver in there. And when you're in a chronic state of fight or flight, your rib cage will probably rotate. It will maybe hike on one side. It'll do something. And also the scapulars will kind of become quite stuck as well. And all the muscles will just contract and not release. And so there you have the conditions to create all kinds of chronic digestive issues, heart problems, breathing problems, and then the skull as well, where that will also be impacted in terms of the brain, the blood flow. Quite often we have a head forward posture. Yeah, or someone might kind of go like that all the time. So this is going to create all kinds of circulatory and functional issues in the brain as well as the neck muscles.
How does understanding the connection between biomechanics and trauma contribute to the field of mental health?
100%. You stabilize the mechanics, you stabilize the mental health. The analogy I use is think of a table. When a table is unstable, when it's rocking, where do you go to? You don't just hold the top of a table to stop it rocking. You go to the foundation. Yeah, you go to the support, the connection with the ground, and then you would work up from there. Okay, and as you support and you stabilize the mechanics with the bones and the joints, the nervous system calms down. All of the autonomic nervous system is then in a safe, stable container, and then all the chemicals going to the brain are giving chemicals and create that are not stress chemicals, and they are then making you think differently and behave differently.
Are there any specific populations, groups that may be more susceptible?
Susceptible,
Yes.
susceptible,
Trauma
vulnerable.
being locked up in their biomechanics.
The less knowledge you have of your body, the more susceptible you are. Actually, having said that, academics are highly susceptible because they think they know everything, especially if they're health experts. If they don't know this stuff, they are very susceptible in a bizarre kind of a way, because they just think they should be able to think their way out of a problem. That's from a kind of academic perspective. I can't 100% vouch for it, but I have been told that one of the worst groups of giving birth are female doctors, because they're trying to think their way out of what is actually just a very simple function of the body, natural function of the body. Anyone is susceptible. Everyone has a body. Anyone who moves into a state of stress, be it because of physical or emotional state, is susceptible. What I do think and what I do see is many people who have, who are on the spectrum, supposedly. I see a lot of very, very difficult mechanics in their feet. Bones in their feet are just not connecting with the ground properly. They haven't got that support. So their whole function becomes different. Anyone who is in an abusive relationship is very susceptible because the nervous system is constantly being fired off and it's very difficult to engage. However, if you learn to engage, you will probably find that any abusive situation you are in will begin to resolve itself. Not necessarily an easy way, but it will resolve. Anyone is susceptible. You have a body. If you're not mindful, if you don't know this information, I call it the formation internally, you are susceptible. You are susceptible.
Can you explain the relationship between biomechanical instability and the development of exacerbation of mental health difficulties?
Yeah, I think as I've already said, we have the foot, the bony foot, and it has, I can't believe I haven't got one here. I don't know, I usually have one with me, but we have the 26 bones of the feet, and if they are unstable, there are 3 points. We call it the foot tripod. They need to be orientated correctly, facing in a particular direction in the clock face, and then they need to be able to fully flatten all of these feet, and they need to fully engage into what we call the arch. Okay, so we have these capacities to pronate our foot, which is a flattening of the foot, which we need to stand securely on one leg so we can lift the other leg forward, yeah, to take a step. And we need to be able to fully arch our foot to push off the ground, to push us forward. These are mechanics of the body, and what we are identifying is that when people don't have them, it translates. The evidence is building. Yeah, it's evidence building, but it translates into mental health disorders.
Are there any preventative measures or practices that can help maintain healthy biomechanics and reduce the likelihood of trauma being locked up?
100%. That's why we teach what we teach. We teach we teach a 7-week program. By the time you've done that, you never need to lock a trauma into your body again. Or if you become aware that you have a trauma locked into your body, which you might not be, by the way, because dissociation, that's what happens. You're not very often even aware of, well, you wouldn't be because you've dissociated. That's what trauma does. So we have to safely bring you back into your bones, but 100%, that's what we're doing here.
How does different types of trauma, such as physical, emotional, or psychological, manifest in the body's biomechanics?
If you look at this is where I love to use polyvagal theory, because it's a great model to use alongside what we're doing. Different types of trauma, depending on, everyone is individual, so the way they hold it will be partly dependent on different aspects of their movement, their history, their alignment, shapes of different structures in their body, and then they will hold it. But we know, so life threat trauma, yes, will be held more in the pelvis. Just general repetitive strain and burnout trauma will really be impacting in the rib cage. Also kind of a lot of physical, if you've gone to physical trauma which has damaged an area of the body, it's going to be located in that area of the body. But then you've got the relationship with all the other parts of the body that have compensated. So to be honest, no matter what the trauma is, it's impacting every part of the body. So what we say is we treat the forest, not the tree.
Can addressing biomechanical imbalances help individuals in their healing journey from trauma?
100%. Like the moment you start to bring in stability into the bones, connection, engagement, proper internal support. What I say is think of your body, even touch it now. Touch your body. What is the strongest thing you can feel? It's your bone. Yeah, your bone will outlive your thinking mind and your beating heart. Yeah, your bones are going to outlive you. They are so strong. And when you learn to use them, orientate them, and connect them with each other correctly, when you put one foot in front of the other, you will absolutely transform the way you feel mentally, emotionally, psychologically.
How does instability in biomechanics contribute to mental instability and affect overall well-being?
Okay, so biomechanics, when it's unstable in your feet, it then creates instability in the lower leg bones, the thigh bone, and it keeps your pelvis locked in. What I see, what I observe, is it keeps your pelvis locked more in what we call an anterior tilt. Okay, which means that the parasympathetic nervous system is kind of sitting in a bowl that's more like a waterfall. Okay, all the energy is pouring out the front, and the muscles, different muscle groups, can't switch on because the joints and bones aren't aligned and engaged. When you sort out that mechanics, the foundation of balance, yeah, structurally in your body, and it comes up and it connects into the pelvis. We've got the alignment, we've got the correct connection and support underneath. The pelvis can then align itself in a way which is more like, if you imagine the bowl now, rather than a waterfall falling out the front, it's more like holding a beautiful, calm lake inside it because it's stable and balanced. Within that, you then have a nervous system that is beautifully held, feeling safe, and it gives those sensations of stillness and harmony. All of the organs in the area, everything can work correctly, they're correctly supported, and this translates in sending the correct messages into the sympathetic nervous system and into the ventral vagal, the heart area, and up into the brain. It's just a different foundation.
What are some of the common symptoms or manifestations of mental instability that can be attributed to biomechanical imbalances?
Okay, you'll be all over the place. You'll find it hard to concentrate. You'll probably be quite tired. You might not sleep well. You're going to be very fidgety. You won't really be able to get comfortable a lot of the time. You actually won't even know you're not comfortable. Yeah, you're just, that's your normal because you don't even know what comfortable is, right? And so this is the same emotionally. Okay. You will it's really difficult because for those people, they don't have any contrast. So they're living in what they think is normal. Okay. And that is one of the symptoms. You are living in a state of what you believe to be normal without any understanding, literally the word understanding, the way you stand, but under, yeah, your upper body. Yeah. Any understanding, true understanding supporting you. And so so emotionally, mentally, the chemicals, the stress chemicals that this is creating, yeah, adrenaline, it's like mini tiny shocks in the body all the time. So your adrenals are kicking off all the time, which then moves into a kind of burnout, which you just become used to. Yeah, so everything is more an effort. You may well find you're either very hyper or very lethargic. This translates into how you feel emotionally. This translates and how you feel emotionally all the time. This translates into your personality. Yeah, your personality. Everyone knows you as that. And then that, if the response to that is not positive, yeah, then they respond to you like that, which if it's not good, makes you feel rubbish and makes you feel self-conscious and makes you kind of think there's something wrong with you. Yeah. And then you start questioning yourself. And then it becomes this whole mental washing machine chaos in your head. Yeah. And it's all a big story because actually your internal alignment, the bones of who you are, is simply just needs to be reminded of how to align and orientate correctly. And then all of that changes, and people around you will go, what on earth happened? Like, you seem really different. And you'll go, really? I didn't even realize because you're now in your new normal of being you. To you, like nothing's changed. It's just the internal unconscious is now aligned mechanically and supported. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are there any preventative measures or practices that can help maintain stable biomechanics and reduce
Absolutely.
risk of
Yeah,
mental instability?
100%. All you do once you understand the practices we teach, and we have a community so that everyone can drop in and you can do it from your front room. It's all online. I mean, we do face to face as well, but we make sure, once you're in our community, you've got it. We assess you, we watch you. So 100%.
How does self-awareness and body-mind connection play a role?
Self-awareness, very simply, we teach you to look in a mirror and watch yourself move. And when you do that, you might notice things about yourself, or start feeling things about yourself that you didn't know. And once you clock that and you can see it and you can feel it, and you feel like when we guide you in the practices to do things slightly differently, and it's like light bulbs going on in the body, like, oh my God, I never knew I could feel like that. Yeah. And once you've got that contrast, then your kind of brain is going to go looking for it. And that's where self-awareness kind of builds and grows.
What role does lifestyle and daily habits play in supporting stable biomechanics and promoting mental stability?
Yeah. So obviously, what you do on a daily basis makes you who you are. But then you could say the alignment, the unconscious alignment inside you, also makes you who you are. So there is a relationship between your internal and external environment at all times. Yeah, it's like they're playing off each other all the time. But obviously, what you eat, yeah, the people you spend time with, the job you do, and how you use your body when you're doing it, all of these factors, many, many different factors, impact how much rest you get. It's a constant interaction. It all affects everything else. There is no separation between this. So again, part of your self-awareness is to see that is serving you and that is maybe compromising you, and to get a decent balance, because sometimes you like doing the things that don't serve you. So you might want to continue doing that a bit, and that's okay. Yeah. So long as the majority of the time you're doing what's good for you. Okay. At the end of the day, it's a balancing act. Everything we teach is about, it's pretty binary. It's one thing or another. Yeah. So it's just keeping the balance enough that overall the balance is good for you. So your lifestyle overall needs to be more positive and nurturing, and aligned, and then you'll be okay.
Thanks. How can professionals in the field of biomechanics and mental health collaborate to provide comprehensive care and support for individuals who have mental instability?
100% that. I'm always going to say it, and medical professionals who are now learning my system would say the same. They need to know. They just need to know how to realign every joint in the body in 3D. That's it. And once you do that, to be able to observe whether it's aligned, yeah, and to get that stability, to get that support, that engagement, so that the internal infrastructure of the body is working, so that the emotional state, which is dependent on internal structure, is then living in a regulated, balanced environment.
Hmm. What are some future directions or areas of research that can further enhance our understanding of the link between biomechanics and mental instability?
Fantastic. Slow-mo videos of how people walk. Just look at, you just take a slow-mo video. I mean, we can, again, from my perspective, the research is building, my own findings are building. Literally, the way someone puts one foot in front of the other, I can pretty much read what physical pain conditions or physical health conditions they're prone to. I can read what that person's personality is going to be. I can read the predictability of their mental health issues. And so the research should be and must be, in my lifetime, I hope, to help people decipher but the way they put one foot in front of the other and the orientation of the bones in their feet and the way this supports or compromises the support to the rest of the body, yeah, because the feet are the only part that touch the ground, so every other bone and joint above is dependent on this. The research into how those orientations and different phases of gait, because there are different postures the body needs to be able to access when they walk, yeah, these different phases of gait, then how the research needs to be into how this is a predictable indicator of that person's mental health. And then to put in the correct practices to rearrange that.
We're going to move on to some neurodivergent condition. So we're going to move on to ADHD. And for those who don't understand or don't know what ADHD is, it is an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and is characterized by persistent behaviors of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivities that can impact daily functioning and relationships. In the brain, ADHD is believed to involve differences in the levels of functioning of neurotransmitters. So a natural variation in the human brain and the chemicals in there, which plays a crucial role, in regulating attention, motivation, and impulse control. And structurally, certain parts of the brains involved in executive function, such as the prefrontal cortex, which is like near the front of our brain, may also show like differences in individuals with ADHD. These differences, is it believed to be a bit smaller or less active? It's for individuals with ADHD. So this is a difference that can affect the ability to regulate attention, inhibit impulsive behaviors, and manage working memory. And ADHD is a neurodivergent condition. It's not a mental health condition, but it does affect, mental stability and has co-occurring mental health conditions.
Yes.
And where ADHD comes from is not fully understood. And research suggests it can be influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, and neurological factors. So how the brain works and nature versus nurture, to put it simply. So, how does biomechanical instability contribute to the manifestation of ADHD symptoms?
So it's a bit chicken and egg. I don't claim, because I don't have the physical research to say what causes what or what makes someone more prone to what. I believe that, as we've said already, there are different potentials for vulnerability. But what we know to be true, for a fact, is that people who do my methodology with ADHD are like, oh my goodness, I never knew I could feel like that. Okay. To the point where the person who now does all my social media is someone who I met giving a talk about her ADHD. And I listened to her. She was being interviewed in a room of 300 or 400 people. And I approached her and I said, we need to have a chat. Because if you have ADHD and you are sitting there without the knowledge that I have, we have a problem, because you don't understand what's going on here. And, she was very open. She did the program, and within 4 weeks, she had to come off her ADHD meds. So what we know here, what we know from her experience and then from other people with ADHD who've come in, is we're not looking to completely transform you and kind of eradicate a lot of those symptoms, which actually a lot of those aspects are gifts, right? But they are gifts that are completely unmanageable when your internal structure is not supported. So what we know is that the mechanics, or what I observe, the mechanics in the feet of most people with these different types of experiences of living as a human, is that the mechanics, what we call the foot tripod, and the reason I was looking around there was because I really want to find my foot to show it to you, and in a moment I'd like to try and go and look for it, is that we have what we call a foot tripod in the foot. If you imagine one point is behind your big toe or in front, if you imagine this was my big toe, one point would be here, one point would be there behind my little toe, and one point would be in my heel. Most people who I see, well, anyone I see with these kind of labels, and I do call them labels because I think everyone is unique and we're all made up differently, it does help to kind of put you in particular kind of areas of your experience of being human. But my one thing is, if issue is when people take those labels and they write themselves off as not being able to transform what can feel like negative parts of that. When we transform the foot tripod and we get it orientated correctly, and we get all the bones working correctly, and when we get you sitting correctly, and when we get you activating your pelvis correctly, a lot of the nervous system is then receiving different messages, which tend to resolve a lot of the unmanageability aspects of ADHD, whilst leaving you with the gifts that certain aspects of the neurodiversity give you, yeah, to be the individual that you are.
Do you want to go look for your foot?
Shall I go look for it just quickly? I was teaching a workshop yesterday. I'm really upset that I can't find it. This is a broken foot, but it's still a foot. My proper foot isn't here. This foot is missing a bone. Okay, but you start to get an idea. So this point here is what we call the first metatarsal. This point here is what we call the fifth metatarsal. And here we have the heel. Okay, and to get stability, those 3 points. So the first it's so annoying. I do, as I say, I was teaching yesterday. I need to find it. So the toes. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is a broken foot. But the toes, in front of them, we have these 2 points. Is that clear? Yeah, we have this point and that point. And what happens is most people with ADHD or those kind of issues that affect your mental health, they do affect your mental health, right? In terms of stress and unmanageability, and then how that works with your relationship with other people and other experiences in this world. Also, what we have is that many people, so when you walk, your foot should be facing forward. Many people are walking forward like this, okay? And there's a certain level of mechanics in the foot, all these joints, yeah, they are all designed to move. And a lot of people are just walking forward, lifting their legs forward, rather than getting wonderful aligned mechanics in the foot that supports and gets everything else working correctly in the body.
Are there any studies or research findings that highlight the influence of biomechanics on ADHD symptoms and management?
I don't know. This is very new. I really don't know. I'm going to my teachers and saying, do you know XYZ? I mean, some of it isn't, to people who work in the field, it's not rocket science. I mean, even if you look at things like reflexology, there's, that's always worked. It's maybe seen as a bit of an alternative, unscientifically proven method, kind of way of working with people. There is a fully understood knowledge that working with the feet can affect the body. Yeah, I knew, as someone, I have a degree in clinical massage and all kinds of things, but I always understood the power of reflexology on the whole body with clients. No matter what else I went off and trained in, I always remained very impressed at the impact of reflexology. Okay, so and I'm sure there's lots of people out there who have their own knowledge. I am yet to meet a medical doctor who has any knowledge. They love learning what I'm teaching because they don't have it. The people who've taught me biomechanics, they haven't put it together with mental health. They've kept it in the world of biomechanics. And to be honest, that what I teach is now a qualification with ITEC, who qualify a lot of different kind of methodologies. And when I approached them and I said, you know, it's crazy, you've got the world of sports who use biomechanics over here for performance, and then you've got the world of trauma and therapy and body work over here who work with the nervous system and the muscles, or yoga, Pilates, whatever, but no one's put it together in terms of how performance, mechanical performance of the body is impacting the emotional health or personalities. And they look back at me and they just went, we know, no one's put it together. And I was like, but this is crazy. And they were like, yeah, send it in. So from what I can see, as yet, I'm yet to find the very research that I'm finding. I am teaching it myself. And I would love to speak to people who, you know, people like Bessel van der Kolk, who works with The Body Keeps the Score, where they're talking about obviously the trauma in the body, Stephen Porges, you know, all of those people. And then you've sports professionals over here. Yeah. I don't know. Some people are saying, Victoria, you're the person, you're the one doing it now. There may well be someone else, other people out there doing it. I haven't found them yet, and I'm yet to meet someone else who goes, oh yeah, I know someone else who's doing what you're doing.
What are the potential future directions of research in understanding the intricate relationship between ADHD and biomechanics?
Huge. And absolutely, my mission is to get that out there. My website is being run by an ADHD or you know, other challenges with spectrum kind of unmanageability. And my SEO, it's funny that I'm working with those people have come into the team because they see the huge potential. It's just huge, and it's where we've got to go with this.
How does biomechanics play a role in the development and progression of fibromyalgia symptoms?
It's huge, because basically what happens is if the body isn't aligned correctly, if the different joints can't move correctly, then the muscles can't switch on and off correctly. They get irritable nodules in them. We call them trigger points in clinical massage. And the body gets stuck, it becomes inflamed because the blood flow isn't going correctly into different parts of the body, and the nervous system can't self-regulate in this kind of contraction and different alignments, and there's no internal knowledge of how to rearrange the order and reorganize. Yeah, once you learn that, so long as you're ready to and able, with our support, to deal with any emotional or circumstantial traumatic experience. And when I say that, I don't mean get into the story, but the body holds the memories, okay, of something. So there are, if you look at Peter Levine, Waking the Tiger, he talks about how we get trapped trapped areas of cortisol and adrenaline. And as we rearrange, that moves and it can re-trigger the memory of what caused it. And then we have to bring you into your bones rather than you get recaptured into the trauma of that story. Yeah. So long as we can get you out of the cycle of getting retrapped in the story, it's like reversing out a cul-de-sac, meeting yourself coming in the other direction. So long as we can support you to do that correctly, then you will resolve your fibromyalgia.
Can you explain specific biomechanical factors that contribute to the pain, fatigue, and stiffness experienced by individuals with fibromyalgia?
Can I explain some of the kind of orientations?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, so an anterior tilt, stuck anterior tilt, a collapsed rib cage. The scapulars, then what we get is we get this internal kind of rotation of the arms, the shoulders. We get wide scapulars that they're kind of become winged. This is putting lots of pressure on different structures in the body. It keeps the rib cage stuck. It makes the head kind of drop and go forward, which compresses the neck muscles, which cuts off the flow to the brain. And we probably haven't even got a correct, well, we won't have a correct engagement and connection with the 26 bones of each feet on the floor. So the whole upper body is just falling forward instead of feeling nicely supported and almost weightless. It's very predictable.
How can understanding the relationship between biomechanics and fibromyalgia help us develop more effective treatment approaches?
Just teaching people the practices of reorientating their bones and joints, and you will resolve what is ready to resolve. You know, there is a more spiritual aspect of living in a human body, and there is a sense of timing. And you know, what do you feel safe enough to let go of? What in your life, what relationship in your life, if you truly align correctly, will you find that then you can't tolerate anymore? So there are different aspects. It's not as simple as just realigning your bones and your joints. If you come into alignment in your body, a correct alignment, anything, whether it's in your body or outside of your body, in relationship to you, you will become more intolerant to if it's not in alignment with you and if it doesn't feel safe. So some fibromyalgia people are actually living in relationships or all kinds of situations where it's really difficult for them to realign because it involves a rearrangement of their lives in many different ways. So we have to take that into account as well.
What role does posture, movement, and body mechanics play in managing fibromyalgia symptoms and improving quality of life?
Well, from my perspective, it's absolutely the foundation of beginning to resolve. You know, when we look at fibromyalgia, there's this predictable 12 sets of points in the body, which are pain points, which it relates to the biomechanic. Yeah, kind of arrangement or lack of arrangement, lack of boundaries. People with fibromyalgia usually have terrible boundaries because literally their joints have terrible boundaries. Yeah, we've got to teach them correct boundaries in their joints, yeah, which keeps all the muscles and everything then working correctly, switching on, switching off, not overstretching, not stretching at all, you know, just engaging and switching on, contracting and switching off. So they've got to learn that, and the body's taught that, the body's taught that. It's a bit like being pregnant. Yeah, you either are or you're not. Yeah, with fibromyalgia people, they're either going to switch this back on or they're not. And as they switch it back on, yes, there's a journey to go on because fibromyalgia is a big label, yeah, for a set of symptoms that are really very, very chronic stress response symptoms. Fibromyalgia people are usually big carers. They've been trying to do everything for everyone, probably had very little support for themselves, or then they move into a state where they need constant support, yeah, because they can't support themselves. So we just come in with the structure and then the story will unwind. You know, when I say to people, give me 7 weeks, with fibromyalgia, we're talking more 7 months because there is more of a process to go through to recalibrate and to get those new habits and memories into the body, into the unconscious. It's not like you've just hurt your ankle and you're restructuring. Yeah, it's a pathology which has a much more spiritual and kind of unconscious aspect to it.
Are there any assistive devices or technologies that leverage biomechanics to provide relief and support for individuals with fibromyalgia?
I don't, I'm not in that world. You are the only device you need. We are teaching standing on your own 2 feet correctly. You don't need that. You need you. You need to commune with your bones. You need to understand the power you have within you. Any external device that you choose to use, unless you have a chronic kind of acute injury, that's different. Yeah, if you've just hurt yourself and it's like SOS treatment, but anything that relates to your body generally and what you do, people are experts at creating their pain, and you are the device you are looking for. You just need to understand how to use yourself correctly.
How can we raise awareness about the importance of considering biomechanics in fibromyalgia diagnosis, treatment, and support?
It's going to be getting the word out there. I personally have been working very hard at simply creating a methodology and a community and a structure that is duplicatable, and then beginning to train my founding practitioners in the same. I know that there are different ways and people use to resolve fibromyalgia. I'm not saying what I do is the only way, right? There are different things that work for different people. But it's education, education, and slowly getting the education out there. I personally have my own limits, my own boundaries of what I can create, but we are working, we published a book, we're building a community. And the issue with fibromyalgia is that some people with it will not be open to new information. There is the reality that some people at the stage they're at, they actually need their pathology for whatever reason that may be. Yeah. So we can get the information out there, but a lot of people have pathologies for a good reason. I wouldn't say it's like ADHD. Fibromyalgia is more of a pathology. And if there is emotional history, emotion, energy in motion that is not ready or safe to surface, they might not be ready. However, the education, we podcasts, articles, talks, waking people up just waking people up. The medical world is not going to resolve fibromyalgia. Doesn't have the tools. The medical world is good. If I was in a car crash tomorrow, get me to the medics. If I have fibromyalgia, get me educated about the bones of who I am.
How do biomechanical imbalances in the body contribute to the development of common physical pathologies like back pain or joint issues?
Just because of a misalignment, it creates inflammation. So if a muscle group that's attached to a joint can't move correctly because the joint can't move, then the muscle isn't going to work correctly, and it's going to somewhere to overuse use a joint, and somewhere is going to underuse a joint. And the muscle itself can't go through its range of movement. So I describe it like a towel, or actually like a piece of material. Okay. So if this piece of material is the muscle, and if my hand is one joint, and my other hand is another joint, if I want to truly, if that's the muscle, if I want, a muscle is like a spring, you contract, and it can only do that if the joints move. Can you see that? My hands have to move it. All right. And if that doesn't happen, or if that happens, one end is doing lots and the other end isn't doing any. So it's all happening there instead of this kind of opposition of the relationship they have with each other, then you're going to get pain and inflammation and all kinds of issues.
What role does posture, gait, and movement patterns play in the development and progression of physical health conditions?
100% all. It is the internal scaffolding. It's like saying, what role does a steering wheel play in driving a car? You're like, are you even asking me that question? And I don't say that in a way to you, but it's like you wouldn't even ask, would you? With a car it needs to steer correctly, or you're going to have a bumpy journey.
How can interventions like physical therapy or corrective exercise that target biomechanical imbalances improve the management and recovery from physical pathologies?
100%. It just will. Just can't not. It just brings order into disorder. And when you bring in order, the body is designed to move in 3D. Okay. We have 3 planes of movement. Sagittal plane is backwards and forwards for the joints. Frontal plane is kind of up and down. So this is frontal plane. This is sagittal plane. And then this is what we call transverse plane rotation. Restore that, or teach someone where they're missing that in any particular joint, and it will begin to resolve whatever's going on. And by the time you teach them to do that in every joint in their body, the odd joint just moves in 2 dimensions, not 3. The knee doesn't do that. It does that, and it does a little bit of that. Different joints. Just teach people that, and you're giving them the gift that just keeps giving.
How can healthcare professionals integrate the understanding of biomechanics into the assessment and treatment of physical health issues?
When you say healthcare, do you mean medical healthcare or any type of healthcare?
Both.
Both. They just need to learn this really basic stuff. Although, to be honest, where I'm going with this is into the education system. This should not be healthcare. Yeah, it's ridiculous that this is healthcare. This should be education for people, for children, when they are kids. People should just know this. And then the use for healthcare would be far, far less. We could just get on with our lives, couldn't we? If we actually knew how to, we could just get to our destination, right? When we know how to drive the car. Yeah, you should have been taught. No one's being given an education in how their body moves. Kids may be sitting in science classes learning about how the heart beats, or something about the body, but no one. And then they might be sent out to games to play. Yeah, but no one's actually teaching them. Okay, you have a pelvis. Guess what? It's designed to go backwards and forwards, up and down, and rotate, and it's designed to do that in time with the foot. And you have 26 bones in your feet, and just teach them this stuff. Okay, and then we would have far less need for healthcare. People would be their own healthcare professional.
What are some potential future directions for research in exploring the intricate relationships between biomechanics and physical pathologies?
Mm-hmm. Teach people the methodology that I've taught, which is designed so a 10-year-old can understand it. Don't make biomechanics sound like some really scientific thing, or something that you have to be a sports kind of expert to do. Let's bring biomechanics into the world of plain and simple understanding that you live in a body. Yeah, and just like any machine, yeah, it needs to be aligned and connected in a particular way, and do the research. I mean, I'm at a point, it's I know this will happen. It can't not, because it's the truth. Yeah, we're working with the truth here. But it's a lot for me personally to get all of the research done. But I hope to get funding. Yeah, that's where we should be going with this. We should be getting the funding, and then watching people's journey as they put in the process, and getting them to chart their improvements with whatever pathology it may be. And that there's the research. Yeah, and there's the numbers, and as the numbers get more, I mean, obviously in all my case notes and things like that, and videos and all the workshops we do, we have people's testimonials, but that's very different to actually quantifying that and serving up the data, isn't it?
Yes. So we're going to move on to the nervous system, which you briefly mentioned earlier. The nervous system is a complex network of nerves and cells that transmit signals between different parts of the body. It's like a communication highway that helps coordinate and control various functions such as movement, sensations, and thinking. The nervous
Yeah.
system is divided into two main parts: the central nervous system, which includes the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which consists of nerves that connect the central nervous system to the rest of the body. Together, they work to ensure that our body functions properly in response to stimuli from the environment. And it's really fascinating how the nervous system plays a huge, crucial role in our everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
How does biomechanical instability affect the regulation of the nervous system and contribute to the mental health challenges?
Okay, I'm just going to grab a flip chart I have across the room because I think it will help to show. So the nervous system, obviously I describe it slightly differently because I love the polyvagal theory, yeah, in terms of it being three areas. I'm just going to, okay, so if we look at this, can you see this? Right.
Hmm.
So here we have a skeleton, okay, and here we have different parts of the body sitting. So we've kind of got this area which would sit in here, agreed, and we've got this area, the lungs, which would sit in here, and then we've got the brain. Yeah, so we've got the nervous system going up through the spine, yeah, and also down into the gut. Yeah, that gut feeling is when people really feel their nervous system kicking off. Would you agree? Or when
Yeah.
they're in fight or flight, they really kind of, I mean, actually they won't feel it. They'll just be acting out their nervous system in many ways. You feel in a strange way, you feel that kind of butterfly feeling or the gut feeling around here. Anyway, in terms of biomechanics, what we're doing is we are just when these responses kick off, so when we're in these different responses, so when you dissociate in your pelvis, can you see this posture? Can you see
Yeah.
what happens? Yeah, the spine is arching, we're collapsing. I mean, look at that posture and think about what's happening in the biomechanics of that person with the bones and joints. Everything's collapsed. Then in this posture, if you think about the nervous system, this is like, right, I'm running. Yeah. And this one's like, right, I'm fighting. So if you think about the mechanics of the alignments and the extremity of the force of these, yeah, this is having an impact on your bones and your joints. Of course, they are the ones that are facilitating those processes to happen through space, yeah, into action. There is an intention of energy that's creating this, but you need the nuts and bolts of your body to carry it through. And then here we have, look at me, life is wonderful, I feel amazing. Yeah, and excuse me, and everything is talking to itself. So we're more open here. Can you see it? It's just more open, isn't it? The rib cage is more upright. Ideally, it would be more upright. Possibly it wouldn't be. And the arms are up. Yeah. So we've got a real openness. Okay. Now that is very, very generic, because in reality, your body may still be stuck in other things. Now, this is just showing, we have all these nerves that are going from the heart into the face, into it, up in through the brain. So this is affecting as well. Basically, your structure is going to contain whatever kicks off with your nervous system. And unfortunately, a lot of people are thinking you need to then therapize to resolve shocks and life threat. Whereas actually, from my perspective, you just need to remind the joints and bones to move correctly, and everything else will fall away. If you read about animals, they will shake after a traumatic incident. They will shake, 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 shake. The body just shakes. They don't have a human brain going, come on, you're safe, it's okay, don't shake. Whereas a human will go, oh, you're set, you're safe, so don't shake. The body needs to shake. Yeah, that's the body shaking out all that adrenaline and cortisol, and then the mechanics will move correctly. If we don't shake that out after a threat or after whatever's happened, that those chemicals stay stuck in the body, in the nervous system, and it just becomes an overload.
We're going to move on to your book, Get Into Your
Okay,
Body Methodology.
thank you. Okay.
What inspired you to create the Get Into Your Body methodology?
Okay, so originally another book was going to come out, which still needs to come out, which is the background and story of what I do and why I do it. Yeah, that's called The Eggshell System, a book for life. But this one kind of overtook it, and this is an initial volume of this one. It's not the up-to-date version. This one overtook it because all the people that we were working with, they work off the online platform in terms of all the practices and audio, video, written and images. Yeah, everything broken down beautifully. But they didn't have anything physical. And in this book is not just a book to read. This book is also a journal. So the idea is that this actually is an original version. It's not the updated version, which has a lot more lines in it. I think this is more of an updated version, actually. So the idea is that, yeah, can you see the idea is people write in it, they journal. And so the book is connected to every practice in on the online platform. So there are QR codes that lead. So it's basically like you journal through your book. Yeah, and you journal through your body. You start to observe your body. You start to see what different parts of your body are doing or not doing, and how you put one foot in front of the other. So the book is there for a physical offering, Yeah. And obviously, for people to begin to get more of an idea of what it is we're doing and to keep it simple. The actual methodology happened by accident, really, because of COVID. All clients who would have come to me originally could no longer come. I couldn't touch clients. I'd been running my clinic for many, many years. And so then, because I had all this other knowledge, I took it and I started working with clients online, and we started to see how actually they could resolve their own pain if I taught them in a particular process, which also one of my teachers was helping to take us through as well. And then when I saw how effective it was based on all the knowledge, the difference between me and a lot of gait analysts or biomechanic people is that I have the capacity to, I'm very trauma informed. So I have the capacity to hold people in different dimensions of the experience of realignment. Many biomechanic people are purely working from a mechanical perspective without the holding of the emotional body. So the get into your body methodology is where we're bringing all the different elements of your being, your experience of being human. And that's really it's just gone, it's just thrived. People are waiting for this information. It's like bringing people home. It's just bringing people home to themselves, quietening down the noise and giving them the gift of the power of their bones.
How did you come up with the ideas of incorporating QR codes for interactivity?
That wasn't me. That was my editor. She was just like, so she did the course, talking of stories, because I feel like I'm always on the hustle because I never borrow money. I never, everything I do with this is self-generated. And she was doing the book, and she was like, Victoria, we could put QR codes to the online platform. I was like, really? Can we do that? She's like, yeah. So it's other people coming in with this joy and excitement of helping get this out into the world, because for herself, she'd had a shoulder problem for years. We were working through the feet, the pelvis, and suddenly the shoulder pain just disappeared because she realigned the foundation. And she was like, Victoria, now when I run, my heart can't keep up with the pace of my capacity to run. Because she had good propulsion and mechanics. But she was the one who was like QR codes all the way, and people love it. I've had a text this morning from someone saying it's so accessible. Yeah, the connection between each practice in the book, and it takes them straight to the online platform. Yeah, it's good.
Can you share a specific example of how your book has transformed somebody's life?
The book is really new, so I don't know yet. The book only came out at the end of November, and the book itself, because it's new, is more like a gift and for people who know nothing about it, a lead magnet. But the book exists because the methodology has transformed so many lives. That's why the book exists. So, the book is in its early stages. It's only 2 months old. Yeah. So, yeah, but
Wow.
the method, yeah,
There's a website called Thrift Books,
right.
and they have your workbook that they sell. And they're like, finally, by popular demand, we have the level 1 workbook to accompany Victoria Solomon's groundbreaking Get Into Your Body online course. And
Yeah.
within 2 months, there's been enough, like traction where they're like, they need to get this book in so people can access it.
Really? I know nothing about this. What's it called? Thrift books.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a note of that and have a look. I mean, I've just been traveling the world teaching for the last 2 months, so I haven't got a clue. I just like my job is just to get it out.
What challenges did you face whilst writing the book on the background and thinking about methodology?
Yeah, it was all all of the instructions were pretty much written already because they were already on the online platform. But for me, I personally, if we're talking neurodivergence, I mean, my website and social media people who run an organization Joyfully Different think it's really funny because they're like, do you just not realize how kind of you're neurodivergent? Because I'm very dyslexic. So the thought of writing a book was terrifying. And it took a long time, but I had been assured from other dimensions that I knew I had to write the book. It was like an instruction that came through with the methodology. And then in the end, one day I was sitting in a co-working space and this guy was sitting next to me. I was talking about what I do and he was like, you should write a book. I was like, I know, but I can't, I find writing, I'm fine if I'm free flowing, but not fine for structure and, putting content together like that. So he just sat there, asked me, what does it need to be? What's this? And he just put it into AI, gave me a structure. And then I went on People Per Hour and Upwork and put it there. And then interviewed a few people. And one of them was the beautiful lady, Anna, who became the editor. And she just ran with it, literally. She was a runner and she was determined to get this out into the world. It's very overwhelming for me to have lots of content put in front of me. My brain scans. I function in a different way. Like I can talk, I can teach. I'm a channel for that. Absolutely. I don't even have to think about that. There's not a word I'm saying to you right now that I think about. It's just boom, comes through. But people turn up. We teach alignment, and that's what happens. Everything aligns. If you align your internal environment, your external environment will align correctly, and things will show up to make things happen.
Amazing. How do you envision people using the workbook to track and journal their progression?
Yeah, so the idea is everyone who does the course, because obviously we teach a VIP program, which we wish everyone to be able to do. We want that taught to kids in schools. That's where I'm going with this. That's where this needs to end up. So they then have the book as a companion, as a journal, and they can draw or they can write, but they've got a companion to take them through every practice. When you were saying to me earlier, what can people do? This is all they need to do. Yeah, they just need to go through this with the videos, show up to the online so we can assess them a bit. That's it. It's all they need to do.
What role do the images and branding play in enhancing the overall learning experience of the book?
So the cover, it's interesting, isn't it? That's an Amazon proof cover. The cover is just a sunset, right? Or a sunrise. It's up to you which one you want to think it is. Okay. But the idea is, in terms of the branding was done very carefully with me by someone who he's called Brand Dad. He's like my brand dad. Yeah. And I'm like a mentee of his. So he helped me get the right colors. You look at this, you've got sun, fire, sky, air, rocks, yeah, physical earth and water. So you've got the elements that make up the body here, and you've got nature. And this is actually designed to come from the Cliff of Dawn in Mexico, which is where Ixchel is from. The medicine goddess is from Ixchel, from this area in Cancun, Cliff of Dawn. And the idea is that the get into your body methodology for most people is like the first ray of sunlight at dawn. Excuse me. It is a new dawn for people when the light comes in and they can understand their body in a way. So the branding is very important. The logo itself relates to kind of Mayan. I don't know if you can see here, even my earrings are the logo. So yeah, it relates. The galactic butterfly, there is a symbol that relates to something called the galactic butterfly, which has all of its own messaging within it as well. Okay.
How do you plan to promote and distribute the book to reach as many people as possible?
It's a good question. Obviously I have a team and they are working on that as well. For me, the book is also a bit of a lead magnet. It gives them more confidence. Yeah. So at the moment, it's more when I'm meeting people or other people are telling other people about it. As I say, the book is a tiny baby. It's only just come into the world. So we will play with that. I haven't even done an official physical in-person book launch. I should do that. I need to ask all my community to go and start asking for it in bookshops. I need it. There's so much we need, we could do. It's just the time that it takes to do that. And to be honest, I'm pretty full. And at the moment, it's more about expanding internationally. But the book is great because people can order it anywhere. We are in the process of translating the whole methodology. It's just been translated into Italian and Spanish. We also want it into French and German. And then the book will be translated as well. And then it can be published in a language that is easily understood. So at the moment, I'm more focused on that aspect. And when all of that is ready, which a lot of it nearly is, then we can really spread it big time, because we don't want language to ever be a boundary for anyone getting the joy of this methodology.
Looking ahead, do you have any future plans or ideas for expanding the Get Into Your Body methodology?
Huge ideas. That they're not ideas, they will happen. Yeah. I mean, it will be global. It will be something not like, not have you heard of it, but have you done it yet? It's absolutely, as people say to me, Victoria, this is the truth, and when I have medical doctors who are like doing this stuff, not even known, it is for many people devastating that they haven't had this information. So, this isn't just another therapy. I'm not interested in that. This is about education. Yeah. That should minimize the medical interventions. Obviously not if you have an accident. Yeah, the medical world is extraordinary for that. But also, people spend so much time talking about their pain and their problems, whereas when you get into your bones, half of it's just going to fall away. So yeah, the vision. I come from a place of where I do a lot of meditation in a place of the unknown and unlimited possibility. And that is where I live. And that is coming out of the mouth of someone who used to be so contracted and suffer with such terrible chronic anxiety and be so utterly codependent. I teach what I need to learn on a daily basis. So, and I now come from a place of total joy and awe in where we will go with this.
What inspired you to pursue this topic and share it with our listeners?
So, my history is that my father and both his parents killed themselves. And I grew up in a tragic situation of such intense trauma that even now I'm in awe of the fact that I survived and that I'm here to tell the tale. And the medical world, all of those suicides happened using prescribed drugs from the medical world. And the medical world was never able to resolve what happened for those people and for those beautiful people who are in my DNA. I had to make a decision that I didn't want to repeat what they did. And statistically, I was more likely to kill myself than anyone else I knew based on what I'd come from. I have two amazing daughters, and I never, ever want to put them through the hell that is being the child of a suicide, ever. And, even before I had my daughters, I was on my knees, I was an addict. I was doing whatever I could to not feel emotional pain. I was destroying my body through what I was doing for that. I was a wreck. And I had to, I ended up in recovery. I ended up, doing all kinds of things. So the inspiration for this methodology is very simple. I needed to learn. And, it was my plea to God or whatever, show me how to stay alive, because the medical world didn't work for me. Also, I'd been diagnosed with celiac at 20. I'd nearly died when I was 19. So the kind of indication that the medical world didn't work, and simply spending hours talking about my problems or the tragedies that had happened didn't work. And it was by accident that I learned the power of the bones. I didn't go looking for it. I was fully trained in clinical massage and as a systematic kinesiology, but I did know from reflexology that the feet seemed to have a really powerful role to play. And then when I saw my teacher Gary Ward's book, What the Foot, it was like, it was just a feeling that I knew I had to go there and learn that. And then I took his work and then I evolved his work in terms of an emotional component, which they weren't teaching at all. But I was like, just a minute, there's something else going on here. And they were kind of like, well, yeah, but we don't get that out in the room. And so my book and my methodology is where we bring it all together and we teach people how to realign so that living in their body, it's a safe, happy place to live from, rather than a place that you are in so much agony physically and emotionally that you end up taking your own life because it's just too painful to be here.
Wow. I feel it's like I find it amazing how you took, your pain, your struggle, and turned it into something so helpful for other people. And I feel like you're what mindfulness chronic, but I'm iconic's all about. And yeah, your trauma is chronic, but I'm iconic. You are iconic. That's what I meant. Why did I say the whole thing? You are iconic.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not. I am simply the product. Well, I am, as one of my teachers said to me, Victoria, I'm not rejoicing over your book, or, I was made tutor of the year as well by Federation of Holistic Therapists 2023, because people are recognizing that I am doing something really powerful here, which is beyond, because to me, I'm just me. I'm just like putting one foot in front of the other with a passion and a determination to stay alive and to help other people learn enough. I'm just really teaching other people the journey I've been on myself, and it helps people. Yeah. And it's interesting because one of the things around suicide apparently is that people feel like they have no value. They maybe feel like they have no value in the world. And there are lots of different reasons why that could be. I know that what I give gives value, and that fills my heart, and that filling of my heart of giving value, it gives me 100% reason for being here and for keeping myself safe. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's quite self-serving and selfish in a way, but it is iconic and it is inspirational to people. And it is, I feel like if that little girl, because there are many things, I've shared the bare bones of what I experienced, but if that little girl who experienced that, yeah, is now taken care of by what we're doing here, then it's fine. It's great. And having this conversation, it's like, okay, I'm good. If it was for a reason that can help people, it's okay. I'm really good with that. If I couldn't take what happened to me and find some value in it, that would be much harder.
Looking back on our conversation, what's the most important takeaway or message you want our audience to remember?
I want people to understand they have an extraordinary power of their bones, and that their bones will outlive them, and that there is a knowledge within your body which, if you have any kind of emotional and physical pain, that you have not yet tapped into. And when you begin to tap into it, you will start to experience your experience of being alive in a completely different way. And if you have any sense of curiosity about that, if there's like even just the tiniest voice of curiosity or a feeling of, I need to know this, then listen to that, because it's like it's your bones speaking to you, right? And listen to them and let them take you in the direction of where they can support you and help you feel safe and connected. And also that we understand that as a kind of what's the word, as a kind of idea, just talking about it, it may go right over your head because it's like, what on earth is she talking about? So you have to experience it. come to the community, get in touch with us, just come and experience it. We teach something called check into your body, which isn't realigning biomechanics, but it starts to help you come in to connect with your bones. Give yourself the gift of experiencing what we are offering, because it transforms people's lives, and it doesn't matter where your pain point is or what it is. The cause is usually always the same, and it's the internal relationships within your body.
That's amazing. Is there any is are there any upcoming projects, events, or resources you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, so we have the book, the Get Into Your Body book. You can order this on Amazon. I'm presuming you'll be able to put a link in the notes of this. We have our online community where people can drop in. It's running every week. We do drop-ins every Monday. We try and do them at a time where people in different continents can all use them. So they're kind of late afternoon, early evening UK time. We have our VIP program where we will take you through the program one-to-one if that's what you want to do. We have podcasts. We have YouTube introductions. We've got it all. We fully understand people taking information differently. Some people need to hear it. Some people need to see it. Some people need to read it. Some people need to see images. Whatever it is, we've set it up for you. So just get in touch and tell us how you like to receive information, and we'll meet you in that place and come and just hang out in a session and meet us. Yeah. And we take it from there to see what feels right for you. That's pretty much it.
That sounds absolutely amazing. But finally, where can our listeners find you or connect with you, stay updated with you? Where can our listeners find you or connect with you to stay up to date with your work?
So go to www.ixceltrapies.co.uk. Yeah, that is our website. And then you can also it's difficult because we don't hand out our community information because we don't like getting spammed. So the best thing is to come through that to come through the website and get in touch with us through that. You can book into a discovery call via the website, and we will have more access to trainee practitioners as well.
Perfect.
Okay, I have to go because I'm meant to be on another call now. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Can we answer the last question?
Yep, very quickly. Yep.
What is one thing that you're grateful for today?
Oh, I'm grateful for this conversation with you. Thank you. I'm grateful to be able to share the message. Yeah, this is another step in just helping other people access this information. So I'm deeply grateful to you, Rosemary. Very, very grateful. Thank you.
It's okay. Have a good day and enjoy your next meeting.
Thank you. And let's be in touch. I'd love to hear where you're putting this, what you're doing with it, and when you're doing it, obviously. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us on this episode of My Trauma's Chronic, but I'm Iconic. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on as our esteemed guest. Throughout our discussions, we've delved into the fascinating world of biomechanics and trauma, exploring various segments and sharing insightful notes. Your expertise and insights have truly enriched this episode, making an engaging and thought-provoking conversation. We hope our listeners have gained valuable knowledge and a deeper understanding of the subject. So thank you once again for your contribution of being part of this enlightening episode. And for those who want to connect with Victoria with the work that she's doing, I'm going to put all the links down below. Until I see you next time, stay iconic.